One of the sports that probably needs a lot more exposure, but we certainly have athletes in the Western Cape that have been doing fantastic, and that is of course disability sport. Lots more promotion needed for disability sport, but to tell me more about disability sport is Mark Beak. He is the president of Western Cape Disability Sport. Mark, before we start speaking about disability sport, first tell us, are you okay on your side?
We're fine. I'm taking it easy. And it's great that we're able to do Zoom and Skype and that's business as per usual, but traveling is a problem. So being tucked up at home is just this isolation is frustrating.
Mark, let's tell us a little bit about disability sport in the Western Cape. I think most people don't know of the different disciplines that you have in disability sport.
Western Cape Sports Association for the Physically Disabled is the provincial federation for the physically disabled and visually impaired sports. We have 6 districts under our administration, of which 3 are currently active and 3 non-active. The sports that we administer, we've got 8 sports under our umbrella: para-athletics, boccia, goalball, para-swimming at junior level, para-cycling junior level, CP football, judo for the blind, and powerlifting.
So tell us then about how does that break down into the actual training and the competition side. You mentioned judo, for example. Where would the disabled judo athletes train? Do they train with the able-bodied athletes, or is it a specific club structure for disabled athletes?
Well, generally, a lot of these athletes are junior, so they'll be training at school or at club structures,
Right.
so that they don't train individually or by themselves, but generally through the schools.
And what about from a coaching perspective? Have you got coaching support structures that are specifically geared to support athletes that have a disability?
We do have coaches, well-trained coaches in certain sporting codes, but in some of the other sporting codes like judo for the blind and powerlifting, it's very difficult to get, and we're trying to source and acquire coaches that are able to coach us. But for athletics, boccia, goalball, para-swimming, para-cycling, we've got some amazing coaches. So there is growth and room for improvement on our side, and we are busy working on that now at the moment.
For most of us out there, we understand that the more mainstream sports like athletics and rugby and judo and so on. You mentioned goalball and you mentioned boccia. Tell us a little bit more about those sports.
They're very interesting sports. Goalball, for example, is by visually impaired athletes, and they try and score goals. They roll the ball across the ground. The ball's got a bell in it, makes a sound, and they actually follow the sound of the ball to try and prevent the ball from going to the goals behind them.
Right.
It's quite an intense game. I must be honest, before I was chairperson, I never knew what goalball was about until I took the time out and to go and watch it, and it is actually incredible. It's actually quite exhilarating to watch. Boccia, also an amazing sport, played by athletes that are wheelchair bound, and they got to take this ball and move it either with their chin or with their hands and roll it towards a key pin. It's almost like bowls, similar to bowls, and they can't guide it in it. It's also incredible sport.
And Mark, most of these sports, I mean, all of these sports you're talking about, these are sports that are part of the Paralympic structure.
Yes, a lot of them are a part of the Paralympic structure, so they fall under SASCOC and SASAP, who is our national federation.
We've had some incredible athletes in the disability space representing South Africa, many of them from the Western Cape. We would obviously look at big names like Ernst van Dijk, who's been so successful. But you've had a number of athletes. Reinhard Hammann, for example, springs to mind in the Western Cape. That's also had some fantastic international results.
Yeah, and in 2016 he got gold for javelin at the Rio Paralympics.
Yeah.
He's done very, very well. And we've got Renee Liebenberg, Ilse Hayes, who's retired now, but she was also phenomenal. Fani van der Merwe, also retired. So we've got some amazing athletes like Hilton Langehofen, who does long jump, Diane Bass,
Yes.
I've got to get the names right now.
Well, there's so many, in fact. I mean, you've got. Let's go to the athletes as we talk about them now. The athletes that are currently. You mentioned to me a few weeks ago that you guys are running some programs, even during the lockdown space, where you're in touch with the athletes, you're communicating with them. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, before the lockdown took place, we actually started a program for our junior athletes. So there are 10 junior athletes in our program, and we've started in 2019. And every 3 months we meet and we have a training program over 2 days, over a weekend. So far, it's been very successful. We're in communication with them. We're in communication with all our athletes, not just with them. We try and stay communicated with them as much as possible. The nice thing is with all our athletes, they're all working, even though it's lockdown. What amazes me is that they're not tied down and they're not stuck to their couches. They make concerted effort to actually work and train at home with home-based training programs that their coaches have put together and that their bios and personal trainers have put together to keep them fit, to keep them motivated, to keep them stimulated. Some athletes are even competing group via Skype and Zoom. Which is also incredible, and that is incredibly motivating, which I find is amazing. And some of our athletes are even competing with international athletes overseas. So I think it's changed the way of training, and it's changed the way people think and view things. Sadly, what they do miss is getting onto the track. That is vitally important, and that is critical to their training programs. But that'll come. Once the lockdown is lifted and they're able, I guarantee you within 24 hours, I'll be back on that track and giving it 150%.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's exactly what we want to hear. Mark, let's talk quickly a little bit about the structures of disability in the Western Cape. You've, of course, got Cape Town Disability. But tell us a little bit about where else you reach out to in the Western Cape.
Well, we've got 6 districts. We've got the Cape Town Metro. We've got Cape Winelands, Eden. Those are the 3 districts within our structure. The other 3 that form the 6 is Overberg, Plain Karoo, and West Coast. Sadly, those 3 have been left behind, and I'm going to make a concerted effort within this year to get them on board and to hopefully get the athletes part of our program and to get their structures part of our federation.
Yeah. How difficult is it? How difficult is it to make disability sport work? We still seem to be struggling with the old story of, although we know that all sports out there are struggling in terms of getting sponsorship. We hope that this television show actually helps these federations get the awareness that they need. But of course, part of this is showing the members of the public and the corporates out there that our sports structures have got a solid infrastructure with leadership structures. But how difficult is it for you guys out there in terms of gaining sponsorship and so forth? Because I know that you've had some successes actually in your space with some of the sponsorship.
Thanks, JP. Look, it's not easy. Going out there and approaching the corporates is extremely difficult. They don't view sport as a major, essential sponsorship program. So it's quite difficult to get out there and persuade them and convince them and show them that they need, disability sport is a completely different league to able sports. And the difficulties that our athletes overcome just by being an athlete is incredible, and I bring that across to our sponsors when I meet with them, and I say to them, come to an event, come and see them compete. It'll take you to a completely different level of appreciation for the sport and for the athletes themselves. Come and watch them train, see what they do, see the equipment that they use. Taking a disabled wheelchair racer, for example, compared to an able runner. An able runner buys himself a pair of spikes, whereas a wheelchair racer, his spikes is equivalent to a racing wheelchair, which costs over 120,000 Rand. You take athletes with amputees that need prosthetics. Those prosthetics cost 50 to 100,000 Rand each. So before they can even compete, they've got to lay out astronomical sums of money to be able to compete. And then the training that they have to do is twice as hard as what an able athlete has to put into it. And I'm not undermining what the able athletes do. Trust me, please. They are phenomenal as well. But at the same time, the mental mindset to overcome your disability, to get onto that track.
Yeah.
And to run next to a guy that's got 2 legs where you've only got 1 leg takes a lot of positivity and a great mindset to be able to overcome that.
Yeah. Mark, I think we're going to leave it at that. We of course hope to catch up with some of your athletes as well, find out how they're doing out there. We know they are training, they're working hard at the moment, and we look forward to seeing their progress, obviously, once the lockdown is finished, and hopefully we can get everybody, as you say, back on the track.
I'm looking forward to that.
Thanks, Mark. We'll chat with you soon. Right, folks, is of course Mark Beak. He is the president of the Western Cape Physically Disabled Federation. If you want to find out more about physically disabled sport in the Western Cape, then just go to their website, or at least go to the Facebook page and look there for Western Cape PD, Physically Disabled.